Howdy folks, Craig and Ray here on the third floor. It's time to talk about the 10 Thunders. Quick disclaimer. Malifaux 3rd Edition was still in open beta when we filmed this, so some of the details may have changed, but overall the theme should remain about the same. We are producing new content about Malifaux on a weekly basis. Make sure you like this video and subscribe, and we can't thank everybody enough who's been leaving comments both on our channel and our Facebook page. Enjoy the video. Alright, let's talk about Asami Tanaka. So as a master, if I'm sitting, or as a player, if you declare 10 Thunders, you're going to play Asami. What can I expect?
So first thing you need to worry about is summons. That's
Okay.
the number one thing. She is the summoner for 10 Thunders, and she summons Oni, which is her keyword.
Yep.
The other thing you need to worry about, like you do with all 10 Thunders, is going to be mobility.
Okay.
Asami makes her crew already, which is already fairly mobile, even more mobile. And she does that through a couple of things. First of all, she summons up to 6 inches away, which gives you some innate range.
Yep.
The other thing is Oni that charge when they're nearby her can place
Oh, wow. Okay.
rather than push.
Sure.
So because this isn't like flight, it doesn't have to be completely within.
Yeah.
So like you get a little bit of extra distance on that as well. So,
Well, and I was imagining as an opponent, you're kind of used to maybe blocking charge lanes with terrain and things like that.
Yeah, doesn't
or with
work
other
here.
models, doesn't work with her.
Doesn't work with
Wow.
her. The other thing that's really important to worry about her is the keyword mechanic for Oni, which is very important for her. She does not actually have this keyword,
Okay.
but her Oni do, which is the ability to gain flicker. And what it does is when you gain flicker, it's effectively like giving focus.
Oh.
You get positives to your duels and any resulting damage flips for those duels.
And you spend the flicker to
No,
get that? Or
you
as long as you
add
have
it. You add the flicker. So
Got it.
it's a counter to normal resources where you spend. This you add, and she has mechanics to remove it. So like only within 10 inches of her when it activates, she can take 2 damage and remove a flicker. Because if any of your Oni ever have 3 flicker or more, they go away at the end of the activation.
Oh, that's interesting.
So what that allows you to do is do like things like flicker bombs, where it's like you summon in a model and then it charges into your opponent's crew and then burns a bunch of flicker to get positives to everything, tries to murder something, then goes away.
Got it.
So that's something that she does that's really important. That's her biggest tool. The other thing I would say is she's hard to kill.
Okay.
And like I said, the positioning. She has the ability to reposition models with one of her attack actions. And she has the ability to pass hits off to Oni, number 1, and then she can pulse out to heal off of markers, number 2.
Gotcha. So she's got some nice defensive capabilities there. How about, so she's summoning, she's increasing the effectiveness and mobility of the crew around her. Does she have any offense herself?
She does have a little bit of offense. She actually has a high top end on her attack, and then it's got an execute trigger that's not built in.
Okay.
So if she needs to mix it up, she can. But what you kind of really want to be doing with her, because she brings Arcane Reservoir to the party, so that's hand fixing. She brings all these other abilities, and obviously the summoning. She can pass out focus by removing flicker.
Yep.
So she has all these other abilities. You don't really want her engaged, but if she gets there or your opponent gets to you, she's got ways of dealing with it.
All right. That's Asami. Okay, so I've got Asami as my master. I'm obviously going to probably bring a lot of Oni keywords in with me.
Yep.
If I'm going up against an Oni crew, we talked about what Asami can bring. What does the Oni as a keyword bring to the table?
A lot of utility. A lot of utilities. So we've got a heavy hitter. We got the Joragumo, which is your quintessential like high-level summon. Requires 13 out of the hand. But it's a min 3 reach 2, murder machine.
Yep.
And so that's the model you either hire one in because they've got a cool ability where they get to walk at the beginning of the game. Or you summon them in, and that's one of the things you throw into your opponent's face and say, deal with me.
Right.
So that's a model that maybe you don't flicker bomb. Because one of the things...
you keep saying flicker bomb, and I don't know what that is. So let's talk about what flicker bomb is.
So let's talk about... So flicker bombing is... So every Oni model, as we talked about with Asami, has the ability to raise their flicker, and it's called From Beyond.
Right.
Then they all also have another ability called Devour Souls.
Okay.
And so what these two abilities do is From Beyond is the one that gives the free focus.
Right. And then you gain flicker.
You gain flicker to gain the focus, and it's a reactionary thing. So it's like you declare a duel, and then you may add a flicker to that model, and then they gain the positive to attack and damage.
Got it.
And then if they have 3 or more flicker at the end of any model's activation, they die.
Gotcha.
Or they sacrifice. Devour Souls, if you kill something, they consume the soul, they lower their flicker down. So that's kind of how you try to keep them from popping off the board. What flicker bombing is when you summon in a model, and you summon the model with the pure intention of loading it up on flicker and letting it die at the end of its activation to try to do as much damage as physically possible.
Gotcha.
And there's 2 key targets for what you're going to do that with. And they're the big things you need to watch for when playing against Asami. And that is the Joragumo.
Right.
Because coming in with a 3, 4, 5, I believe is the damage track, that's positives to everything, is...
It's gonna hurt.
It's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
Especially if you've got cards.
Yeah.
So... and it's if you pitch 2 severes, but you've killed a major model for 2 severes in your hand, it's like what great value that is. And the other thing is the Obsidian Oni, who has not only a good melee attack but a good ranged attack. But when it dies, it has an on-demise trigger where it blows up.
Wow.
So those are kind of the 2 models that you can quote unquote flicker bomb with.
So you're okay with loading them up with flicker, sending them in,
yeah.
and as long as they did what they needed to do
Right.
and go away. I mean, if I summon the Joragumo and flicker him up, send him in there. He's focused, just beating the hell out of something.
Yep.
And he takes out a major model. You're fine if he dies.
Yeah,
you
who
just
cares?
gotta summon him. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
Wow, that could be big.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and all the summoners now have the whole restriction of once per turn. Asami does still have the whole thing where she can summon multiples as long as their total costs she can meet.
Right.
So it's not something you're going to do all the time because you can only ever summon 1 Obsidian Oni a turn, and you can only ever summon 1 Joragumo a turn. So it is something that you have to calculate out. It's not just it can be a Hail Mary, but it's not meant to be that.
Got it. So now we talked about Asami. We talked about how she really kind of makes everything a lot more mobile.
Yeah.
And we talk about the Joragumo is going to give me some strong offense. Is there any other offense that's Onis out there that I should keep in mind?
The 2 henchmen, definitely.
Okay.
Like Amanozako and Ohugura Batari, who I affectionately call Black Betty.
Uh-huh.
And they both do completely different things as far as how they attack the board. Ohugaru basically can warp around the board, can pulse out slow, can dive into combat, doesn't need line of sight to charge. And turns off triggers, which is really, really big. Whereas Amano Jaco is more of kind of a control beater piece, where she's like, she has a bonus action that can make your models take an interact, for instance, or she can drop out hazardous terrain, and then she's like, her herself can go wailing. And again, every Oni in the faction has From Beyond and Devour Souls.
Yeah.
So any model can become a beater.
Right. Now, how about Resiliency? Is the Oni as a group, are they pretty resilient models?
Not really.
Or kind of fragile?
Kind of fragile. Like we have a couple that are powerful, like the Joragumo Amanozako, with like 10 wounds. I think she has hard to wound as well. The Terrifying. She has Terrifying.
That helps. Yep.
Yeah, that definitely helps. The toughest model, honestly, is the Master. The Master being able to pawn off hits.
Yep.
We have Tengu, which are summon that can pulse out heals, which is really nice.
Yep.
But our models are kind of designed to go in and do their job, and then if they die, then they get kind of replaced type thing. Right. And so what I kind of like to do is I like to identify what roles I'm trying to do, and then I bring those models in to fill those roles, whether it's versatile Oni or what have you. And then I use the Oni summon thing as kind of a bolstering of that.
Got it. So people that play war games, you've played multiple war games. I've played multiple war games. Right. There's a certain style I like, right? I like to play a certain thing, regardless of whether I'm playing Malifaux, Guild Ball, Warhammer, whatever.
Right.
So if someone is new to Malifaux, what kind of player is going to enjoy Asami in an Oni crew?
Anyone who likes to be tricksy.
Okay.
Anyone who likes to be tricksy, because all summoners have kind of this to a degree, but being able to summon what you need when you need it. Like one of the best models that she has access to is Yokai. And the Murder Monkeys. Mm-hmm. And they are these highly mobile, surprisingly stalwart models, that cheap models. And what they have an ability called Ephemeral Warrior, that anytime they add flicker, they place.
So they're focusing and placing.
Right, and they also have a trigger on their attack on a tome where they can lower flicker.
Oh, okay.
So, like, they can suddenly become a really big beater model, but the fact that they can add flicker to when they add flicker, they can place.
Yeah.
And I think they have a bonus action to take a interact even while engaged, and they can charge away from Asami to place. So it's like they're just a really, really suddenly fast model that can just come out and go, I'm just going to go over here and like drop a scheme marker or deliver a message or something like that.
So it sounds to me like the board state can change pretty quickly.
Very quickly.
Right.
Very quickly. Right. And that's probably the biggest strength that the Asami crew has, is that at any point in time, you can look at the crew and be like, all right, I see what your models do. And then she can just be like, you know what? I need a bomb here. I need a scheme runner there. I need a healer here. And you've got to be able to react to that. And honestly, the best reaction is probably getting rid of Asami.
That's right. Okay, great. Well, that's Asami and the Oni crew.